They have to follow incredibly stringent and strict guidelines. Almost everybody in public life knows this. Robert Jenrick knows this. Nigel Farage knows this. Kemi Badenoch knows this. All the newspaper columnists, all the newspaper editors, they all know this. But they either pretend or profess not to, because we're living in an era where, when a young mother disappears while out walking the dog, all manner of nonsense can spring up in its space. And people feel that they somehow deserve a running commentary. And that is, I think, the question that I want you to answer today. I wonder whether we've provided one answer for it already, but it's not enough to say social media has completely changed the way that some members of the public approach the criminal justice system. I think you could probably add that post-Brexit, the denigration of experts and authority contributes. I wouldn't want to necessarily speculate on where the kind of people who somehow think that all of the lies told about the Southport suspect in the immediate aftermath of the crime, all of them remain lies. But I've seen people on social media claiming yesterday that they've somehow been vindicated. It's quite extraordinary. All of the lies are still lies. Absolutely none of the misinformation has been refuted or undermined. But you've got these half-wits jumping up and down all over social media, up to and including Robert Jenrick, claiming that there's some sort of conspiracy going on, or claiming that there's some sort of problem here. And if you, like me, like to understand things, I think you start, particularly when you're still subject to contempt of court, I think you start with what's changed. Where has this appetite come from? Not only did I grow up in a country where the Conservative Party liked to cast itself as the party of law and order, but I also grew up in a country where we had... And I know I speak as a middle-class heterosexual white man, but we had respect for the rule of law, I think, and my personal characteristics probably influenced the fact that we also had respect for the police. There have been great miscarriages of justice, and there have been great journalists who have blown them open. There have been great politicians who have finally delivered the truth about events like Hillsborough to the public. But generally speaking, we respect the authorities, we respect the police, and we respect the rule of law. And we acknowledge that the wheels of justice turn slowly. So what has happened? Why do people want a running commentary when it is so obviously and demonstrably at odds with the interests of justice, the interests of the victims' families, and the interests of society? Where does this come from? This modern gnashing demand for a running commentary from authorities who have operated for decades in a provenly effective and successful way. If you don't understand, and I think you do, then just think about how much stuff the quotes authorities end quotes kept from the public about Chris Cabot until the verdict arrived. That is what they do. That's how they assemble a hopefully watertight case. So there is a question perhaps of whether or not social media has changed this game, whether or not it's naive of me to think that society can respect the slowness with which the wheels of justice turn, whether or not society can ignore the siren voices of the self-obsessed and the self-promoters claiming to know more than the authorities do, or claiming to be, quotes, just asking questions when they are knowingly and deliberately inciting the sort of violence that we saw this summer. I don't know. I don't know whether social media has created a space or a platform that changes the nature of the game, the historic game. And I don't know whether the people in what you might call legacy media who are going to let the tail wag their dog are going to wake up to the danger of what they're doing either. I certainly didn't expect to see a contender for the leadership of the Conservative Party sounding like one of the nuttiest conspiracy theorists on Twitter. But hey, I should have seen it coming after Suella Braverman attacked the police over cenotaph policing. But here we are. Why? Why do people want a running commentary? I honestly don't know. I mean, the more serious the story, the more reluctant I am sometimes to throw open the gates of Idiot's Corner. But I'll mention the handful of people referencing the ongoing case involving attacks at Manchester Airport involving police and members of the public, and some CCTV, of course, as that has been released. That fits entirely into what we've just been saying. That is a complicated case with moving parts involving also an independent police investigation and no early pleas of guilt. So all of this nonsense about two-tier justice completely ignores the fact that an early guilty plea versus the building of a complicated case does not speak to two tiers of justice. It speaks to two completely different exercises of justice. I think it might be worth listening to what Robert Jenrick had to say this morning, because I honestly never thought the day would dawn when a senior Conservative politician with ministerial experience began to sound like Billy Buncher-Numbers with a bulldog avatar on social media and a profound ignorance of the investigatory process, never mind, perhaps, contempt of court itself.
As the dad of 3 daughters, the Southport attack hit me personally. Of course, the legal process needs to be respected, but I'm seriously concerned that the facts may have been withheld from the public here. The government and authorities told us for months that they were not treating this as a terrorist incident. But today, the attacker has been charged with terrorist offences, and it has been revealed that he has been allegedly reading terrorist manuals. This atrocity was of immense public concern. The public had the right to know the truth right away. Any suggestion of a cover-up will permanently damage trust in whether we are being told the truth about crime in our country. So Keir Starmer must urgently explain to the country what he knew about the Southport attack and when he learnt it. Across the board, the hard reality of mass migration is being covered up. The public can see with their own eyes that they are being gaslit by the liberal elite.
Extraordinary. This suspect was born in Wales. Back to parents from somewhere else, but, you know, how many members of the Conservative Party cabinets that Robert Jenrick served in were we told to celebrate because they were born in this country to parents who came from somewhere else, up to and including his former boss in the Home Office, Suella Braverman. Absolutely extraordinary that he would go there. But this need, this thirst, this desire for a running commentary on the judicial process, on the investigation and the proceedings, I don't get it. And I'm hoping you do.